Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Matt Taylor. Welcome to Spitball. I'm here with my good buddy,
Kyle Amundsen.
Did that a little out of order, but whatever.
Yeah.
I'm a little out of order.
Man,
It was a rough weekend.
it's understandable. Yeah.
So,
It was a busy weekend for the Spitballing crew.
yeah, we had a lot of fun this weekend. On Friday, which was the big day, we went out to the farm on St. Mathias for the 10th annual Farm to Fork dinner.
Which was amazing. Wonderful people.
Yeah, it was super fun. And your lovely bride, Christine, came, and yeah, it was a hell of a lot of fun. But what they do, Jenna, who is the chef for Prairie Bay, she's the one who put the whole menu together. And,
I don't know if you watched this, Jenna, but fuck, thank you.
yeah, well, she's gonna be coming on at some point here. But yeah, just amazing food. And then each course, and there were 5 of them, were paired with wine, beer from Jack Pine Brewery, and then also a craft cocktail from this super awesome mixologist. I can't remember his name. I think it was Dave, but might not be. But
I think Dave is just a solid guess when you can't think of somebody's name.
It's probably Dave. We're gonna call him Dave.
But he was awesome.
From Prairie Bay as well.
And they're cool guys, man. The
Yeah,
banter
super
between the mixologist, the sommelier,
Scott is funny as fuck.
and
yeah.
and the brewery guy.
Yep. Patrick.
Fucking great.
Yeah. That was super fun. But it's a recipe for disaster is really what it is.
Yeah, those pairings and stuff. So yeah, each course, a mixed drink, a beer, and not my beloved like domestic water, but like
Right.
real beer. So a wine, a beer, a mixed drink, and my wife Christine does not drink.
Right.
So for me, each course was 2 beers, 2 glasses of wine, 2 drinks.
Right.
And I'd had a few drinks. I didn't know about this, so like, of course, we had beers before.
Right. Why wouldn't we?
And then, we start in and, not a recipe for disaster, a recipe for awesomeness.
A recipe for disaster. So
It's all in how you look at it.
we enjoy all 5 of these courses and all 50,000 of these cocktails. And then we go up to the woods to see our friend Seth Dowd and Angie Stevens playing. And
Not the woods like where I'm from.
Yeah, not like
but
the hick woods.
The actual the bar / hotel / event thing.
Yes, up by Merrifield.
Great place.
And I'm already fucking wasted. So when one is wasted, one should add more alcohol, and even have a better time. So we go up there. I cry a couple times. Yeah. So Angie Stevens is an artist. She's out of Colorado now, and just a fantastic artist. But she started really her career playing at the Eclectic Cafe, a long time ago. And I just love her, and it was just awesome to see her play.
And her and Seth have played together. They're like the best of friends. She's on. They collaborate. We got there just after they did that
Windmills.
Yes,
that,
I love so much. So great music, and man, like I'm glad that there weren't more awesome people there, because I feel like I got to talk to there was such the crowd there was so great, and so many people that I absolutely love. And had there been more, I would have spread myself too thin over the evening. But I
Right.
got to, I hadn't seen my friend Marissa in a while. And Tony Powers was there.
Yeah.
Craig was there. Matt. Matt McCormick was up there. Just all these wonderful people. And it was just a fantastic time.
You could tell me anybody was there, and I would.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Batman was there.
I had a blast. My sister came up, and that was super fun. I don't get to see her very often.
Got to meet your sister in person.
Yeah,
Yes, that was wonderful.
she's cool. So apparently, when I got there, I ran up onto the stage and hugged Angie, and then disappeared for a while. And I didn't go very far. I just sat right down in front of the stage. But yeah, it was just a blast. But I definitely I definitely overindulged. And then the next day, well, actually, we then afterward we make the even more intelligent decision. Your fucking wife is sober, man. Like, why is she not reeling us in? I'm blaming her. It's 100% your fault, Christine.
It's not like we were left unsupervised.
Right.
Christine was supervising, but she just, okay, cool, sounds good, Which that's my wonderful, accommodating super wife.
So she's responsible for my alcohol poisoning. So then we make the brilliant decision to come back down and finish the night here at 9th Street, where at some point I decide to jump to guard on you and whack my head on the ground really hard.
I tried to catch you, but that jacket that you were wearing was so slippery. My hands just slid off, and next thing I know, bonk, Matt's head right off the floor.
Which isn't, it's
no, I fared much better on my second attempt, though.
There was a second attempt.
Which is more spectacular than the first.
That's the state I was in, where I jumped to guard, I whacked my head on the ground and thought,
redo.
Do over. That was a mulligan. I need another one. And you did much better the second time. And then, so that was our Friday night, and then Saturday was the big event, the Walk a Mile in Her Shoes event that we've been talking about forever, that I've been training for, and I slept till 4 p.m.
In his defense, half the people that were supposed to do it with us didn't make it.
That's no defense at all.
No, it's not.
And as you guys know, my wonderful girlfriend Meta gets to choose my shirts for the show because I'm lazy and but I want cool shirts. And last night we went out to a wedding. Her friend got married, and I went to the wedding reception. And that was fun. So, but it's kind of a big deal every week. She gives me my shirt. It's the big reveal. And so this time she whips this shirt at me, and she says, "Here's your fucking shirt for tomorrow, asshole." And I was like,
I really appreciate her sense of justice.
Wow. Yeah. There's definitely some irony in it. So I had to eat a little bit of shit. And it tasted icky. I was, in all reality, I had a blast on Friday night. It was super fucking fun. Definitely overindulged, but hey, we're consenting adults. It's okay.
And we don't get to party together that much,
No.
We get to hang. Thanks to Matt and the show. We get to hang out. Each week. But we don't get to go out and have fun socially and stuff like that. And I mean, in every step of the way was an awesome new adventure. I mean, we got coming back here, not a bad decision.
No,
even though this is where I started drinking Rumplemans. Because it's always awesome to hang out with Rob, and I met a new friend, and just it was a good time. I wouldn't have changed a thing. Right. Except I would have stopped by and drug your ass to that thing. I would have left a little earlier and stopped and collected you.
The only thing I would have changed is I would have moved the Walk a Mile in Her Shoes event to 7 p.m. It would have been perfect.
That would have been great.
Yeah. Maybe 7 p.m. tonight would even have been better, because I'm still a little green, to be honest.
I was kind of a damn zombie at that thing, and there's people there, and I want to, be social and all that stuff, but Yeah. No.
So, and then this morning I got to take a little more shit from Rob and Aaron.
Of course, Rob, Aaron, and Meta they all did make it to the.
Of course they did. They are grown-ups, and so Aaron. Well, so we wanted to try to get different bars to get teams together, and I was kind of the one trying to get everybody to go from 9th Street, and of course everybody did except for fucking me. And
9th Street and Zorbazon Gull.
Yeah,
we made it.
Yeah, you guys are represented. Well, I mean, other than me. And Yeah, so Erin was not, she was not super happy with me that I didn't show up. So she was kind enough to bring my shoes that I was going to wear and whip them at me today. I'm getting a lot of shit thrown at me, and I deserve it. I deserve it. I was so incredibly disappointed that I didn't make it. I apologize to all the people that were out there, but not just because I let them down, but man, I was so like interested in doing this event. I've never got to do it before, and it seemed so cool, and it's something I really believe in. And
we'll be more organized next year, and we'll have somebody who isn't as easygoing supervise us.
Right.
So, Christine, I think what we're trying to say here, I think the point of all this is, Christine, we forgive you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's your fault.
But you are fired.
Yeah.
You are no longer allowed to be our controller.
But you can still be our sober driver.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. 100%. Yeah, you're great at that. You're a very good driver. It was super fun. Yeah. So, to make things even just a little bit worse, our guest today is my good buddy, Kyle Amundsen. I can't even say good buddy anymore. My good friend, Troy Schreifels,
who is also there. He was he volunteers his time there. He's he's year after year staff there.
Yeah, he's one of the kind of the forces behind the Walk a Mile in Her Shoes. He was even messaging me saying, "Where the hell are you?" And God damn it! And so now today I get to eat some more shit with Troy while wearing the Walk a Mile in Her Shoes shirt that I didn't get because I didn't show up.
Yes.
Super fun. So, super excited to have Troy on, though. That's a guy that we've been wanting to get on ever since the very beginning. He was on my list of people that, when we first started out.
And we've had some feedback, from people have said that we're, that we've been tough on law enforcement. People in law enforcement have said that we've been tough on law enforcement. I don't know if I necessarily agree, but that's something we'll get into.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes law enforcement deserves to have people be tough on them.
Yeah.
But I don't think we've been unfair. But maybe we have. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it'll be really interesting to talk to Troy about a lot of different things. It's gonna be great. So what do you got on your list today, my friend?
What do I have on my list? I've got some stuff for later. One thing, and I'm gonna ask Troy this too. Since it appears that everyone has a notebook story. If anybody else has any interesting, because we established last week that we all three had interesting stories about watching the movie The Notebook for the first time. So if any of you have awesome stories about the first time you saw The Notebook, we want to hear it. Whether you write it down, send us a video, whatever. Let us know.
That's probably the best is to do either a voice clip or to send us a video, because then we can put it right in the show and we can watch it and it'll be fun.
Yeah, if you've got a good story about this, because apparently that movie has impacted some people.
It's the saddest fucking movie of all time.
Oh man, I'm telling you, Fox and the Hound is the saddest movie of all time.
We'll always be friends forever.
There's another thing that I want to mention about Walk a Mile in Her Shoes. Now that event, I also there's some brave dudes. It's not necessarily brave because it's easy to take a stand against sexual assault and gender violence. But what's hard to do, you can go buy your own shoes, which I recommend. That's what I have my own shoes that I keep around for that event, and whatever else I might need it for. A lot of guys, and I've been in this situation, have actually asked women to borrow their shoes. Now that's a brave prospect, because it's one of those things you don't necessarily, you got to be pretty comfortable with a girl to be like, baby, I couldn't help but notice you got some big ass feet.
Right.
Can I borrow those shoes? Yeah, like, you got something that'll fit me? Because look at those fucking, look at those canoes. No, that's a tough thing. So all you guys that borrowed shoes, all you guys that like actually asked a woman if you could borrow her shoes, man, hats off to you.
Yeah, for sure. I was gonna say that I finally took the plunge and started watching the series The Boys.
Nice.
And I gotta say that show is as addictive as Compound V. Jesus, it's fucking great.
Good shit.
Yeah. If you haven't seen it, it's on Amazon Prime, and it's so fucking good. Like it hooked me like the first episode. I was like, oh, this is fucking awesome. I actually am thinking about trying to pick up the comic books because I guess it's based on a comic book series that it sounds great.
Yeah, and like I stopped reading comic books so long ago, and I felt like like later on, as time goes by, I learned about these other awesome comics that I never even like tapped into, because I was a big like Marvel guy, a big X-Men guy and stuff back like when Wolverine was still a cool character, before they gave him a stupid background story, and before Hollywood fucked it up by making Hugh Jackman Halloween. Why is it
Wolverine?
Wolverine.
Oh, whatever.
Yeah, because it rhymes. Whatever. I'm gonna rap later. But yeah. By the way, I know everybody loves Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. But that's because you're not a fucking real fan.
I really liked Logan. I liked the movie Logan. But
well, it's shit. They're all shit. Hugh Jackman is a foot taller than Wolverine. He's pretty. Like he's a song and dance guy. Is that Wolverine really? But they'll, Hollywood hold casting things. Someday we're gonna get my buddy Andy Mack, my little brother, on the show, and he and I have always talked about like if we ran like a casting agency or something, like just so some of these places, some of these movies could get some of this shit right, like you don't always have to hire the prettiest guy. Sometimes you want to try to stay true to the character and shit. I mean, because there's some actors out there that would have made fine Wolverines, but none of them are fucking 6'4", And it's not because I'm short, all right? Like I'm not just sticking up for short people, I hear you. Take that shit seriously. But I mean, not that shit matters anymore, because now that James Bond, well, I think a lot of that shit like about James Bond, like all these controversies about how like all the superheroes have to be like black transsexuals now or whatever, like all that stuff. I think a lot of that shit people get worked up about. I think a lot of that's clickbait. Like, I hesitate to call it journalism, but a lot of that shit you see online, and you're like, oh my god, da da da. It's not a real thing. I think a lot of that shit is either completely made up or blown out of proportion. There isn't a huge, there isn't an angry mob outside, like Universal Studios or whatever, like demanding, like that. I don't think it works that way. Although I do believe that there are a lot of like petitions for stuff. Like remember the petition? There's a petition about the Game of Thrones, like because they hated the ending, blah blah blah. This many people signed it.
Bullshit.
Yeah, like there might have been a petition because there's just so many whiny cunts out there in the world. But what ubs?
Yeah.
Fuck, what was I even talking about?
I fucking have no idea. We were talking about comic books.
Yeah,
but
fuck.
I don't know.
I went off on a fucking...
I haven't read a comic book in a while, but man, I used to just love the ElfQuest series.
Man, those were dope.
Yeah, I probably have drawn 50 pictures out of the ElfQuest books just to be like, I want to draw this.
That shit was cool, man.
Yeah, super great.
How about a live-action ElfQuest movie?
That would be fucking awesome. Or even an animated one. I mean, why be live action? I'd animate it.
That's true. Yeah, ElfQuest, that was good. But there was a lot of old comics. One thing, one that I guess the movie is in the works. Do you remember? Was it Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu? This Marvel. It was a Marvel comic. But I thought I was like the only fucking person that read that, and now there's a movie coming out.
Really?
But then I've also heard talk about a Moon Knight movie, which I love Moon Knight. Kind of like a cooler version of Batman. But yeah, like in the Marvel universe. Man.
Yeah, nothing.
Hmm?
Yeah. What else on your list?
Well, it's not on my list, but I do have big news this week.
What's that?
I'm a grandfather now.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Yes. Baby Milo, or Chewy, as he is going to be called.
Whether he likes it or not.
Yes. Well, like I lobbied for the name Sebastian just because I wanted to have like a little sidekick named Seabass, because I love that shit. But they wound up naming him Milo, and I was like, oh, okay, that sounds good. But then when his mother, my stepdaughter Emily, who's wonderful, hi Emily. I don't even know. Probably doesn't watch the show.
I would hope not.
Does. Right. But she started calling him Chewy because he's got so much hair. He's a furry little beast. And I'm like, that's fucking awesome.
I can get behind Chewy.
Yeah, absolutely. I can totally have a sidekick named Chewy.
See if he can
make me like Han Solo.
See if he can if you can get him to cry with the I wish Tharg was here. He's the only one who can do it.
Yeah, right. Although I did buy Christine one of those masks, like remember that huge YouTube video and stuff, the lady laughing and shit.
Yeah, that video kills me. That lady just wouldn't stop laughing.
It is fucking great. But yeah, so Chewy, welcome Chewy, baller.
Yeah, being a granddad's cool, man. I have a grandson who is just 2 now, Ronan, and it's a blast.
That's a great name.
Yeah, Ronan is a good name. I got behind that one right away. I was like, fuck yeah, like the masterless samurai. I can grok it. The other day I got to bring him over to the park and hang out with Meta's kids. And,
I saw some pictures. That's cute shit, man.
I just say that about Meta. I don't take pictures ever. I fucking just don't. I was going through my phone the other day to show her I don't take pictures. She's like, why don't you ever take pictures of me? I'm like, I don't take pictures of anything. And then I'm looking at it, it's like, okay, picture of my license plate, right? Because I don't know, needed my license plate number for something. Picture of my VIN number. Picture of another car part. Picture of a part off of a fucking hot water heater, because I needed to go to the store and get the. It's like, that's my phone's a fucking tool. Period. That's it. I don't use it for anything else. So, but I think it's great that she takes all these pictures, and so that I have pictures, because I don't have pictures of anything.
It is great. Christine takes a lot of pictures too, but Meta kind of does take it to the next level.
Well, she's fucking really good at it.
Fuck yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
For sure. Actually, it's funny because she said, Christine said to her on Friday night, man, your phone just takes the best pictures. And Meta said, oh, thanks. And then Christine wanted to go take some pictures of somebody. So I don't know who it was. And she takes Christine's phone takes Meta's phone to go take some pictures. And she comes back and she goes, it's just for you. It doesn't and they were all blurry and shit. And it's it's pretty crazy. She doesn't even have her phone is good, but it's nothing spectacular, it's just whatever it is. She's got a good eye. She has a nice camera and everything. She came and took pictures of us. Some of the pictures that were for that are on the Spitballing page Meta took,
and some that are on our pay site. It's a completely different story though.
But
we needed the money to get this shit on there.
That's right. That's true. We don't need. Yeah, the porn's name is Spitballing. We didn't even need to make a change. Yep. But yeah, okay. Pictures are cool. That was about the end of that story.
Oh, I do. I was happy. I don't know if anybody can see. The microphone's probably in the way. Do you remember Diablo?
Yeah.
So I was so happy that when I found this damn shirt. I am about my nerd shirts. But Diablo was or is, I don't even know what what incarnation it would be in now. I don't remember Diablo 3 or whatever a while back. But I played Diablo back in the day. I didn't play a ton of computer games.
Yeah, me either.
Not for super long anyway, but like Nathan and I played a lot of Diablo before we discovered Ultima Online. And then that was fucking crack to me. It was one of the early massive multis. But Diablo was a great game, and we enjoyed the shit out of it. Right up until the point where we learned how to dupe items. So you ruin the game for yourself by cheating, like a lot of shit. And I just wanted to point out my Diablo shirt. and mention that wonderful, wonderful game that I had so much fun playing back in the day.
Yeah, I hardly ever played any computer games. It's just I just don't have I don't have the attention span for it.
Well, and it's a huge time commitment. Especially like Ultima Online was like the last game that I played a lot of, except for like games that I could play in like single player like the Total War Rome and shit like that. Like stuff that I could like slow moving shit that I could like just walk away from and come back to.
Yeah, the only game I can remember like playing all the way through was Return to Castle Wolfenstein.
Oh wow!
Do you remember that one?
Yeah,
that was a fucking great game, and it was really hard, but it was like awesome. But
that's one of those games that I like tried to start and I got stuck and it pissed me off and I never picked it back up.
Oh really? Yeah, Peyton. Yeah, it must have been Peyton. Was really young when I was working on that game. So he was like a baby. So babies are fucking easy to ignore. And so I'd just sit there and play that game sometimes with him on my lap, and he would just be happy to watch it. And
there was a game that I remember playing a lot of when Gordy was a baby. And, I'd have him with me, and I could put him in a chair by my chair and stuff, like I'd feed him, play with him and stuff. He'd fall asleep. I'd play the game. Like sometimes he's like sleeping on my chest and stuff like that while I'm like reclined playing the game and stuff. And just, yeah, shit, same thing.
But I remember in that game, there was a table that like just was a cool fucking meaty medieval table. And, I was like, I got to build that table. And I did. And then I actually, me and Tharg built a table.
Is that the one that sits in his house?
So the table that's in his house is the table from Return to Castle Wolfenstein.
Nice.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of dice rolling and shit on that table.
It's a great, medieval table with big, iron straps and everything. But as you know, and maybe you guys don't know, but this is going to be our last episode that we'll film at the 9th Street Social Club for at least the season of football, because they're going to be open every Sunday for the football games, and that kind of breaks right into our time. So sadly, we're gonna have to move on. And we talked a little bit about what we were gonna do, but we decided we're just gonna like shoot it at there's a place that we have that we're gonna shoot it at
an undisclosed location.
Undisclosed location, yes, exactly. But we need to, we don't have any of the shit, like other than the equipment, like, we need. So I have been working on building a new table for it, and it is, it's pretty closely based on the Return to Castle Wolfenstein table, and I think it's turned out pretty cool. So I'm looking forward for you to see it the first time, but you're not going to see it until till the day we shoot.
I've been rounding up like decor, like stuff that basically like a lot of nerd shit that I've collected over the years that I love, that my wife will not let me put up anywhere in the fucking house. But it's stuff that I've hung on to because I'm like, well, this fucking says this about me. Like, this is like nerd shit. This is who we are.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's going to be fun.
I shouldn't say that. There are a couple of things. Like she does let me keep my favorite club in the.
Oh, good.
In the living room. Probably because we were on a walk together when I found that thing, and I was like, oh my god, I could totally fight a goddamn saber-tooth tiger with this.
Right. Yeah. Cool. Well, anything else you want to talk about before we?
Man, I think Troy should be here any minute, so I think we should pause here, and when we fire it up, when we come back, we will be with.
Don't say fire it up.
Whew.
Oh my god, I'm still so fucking hungover. Yes, we will be back in a moment. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Spitballing. I'm Matt Taylor here with my good buddy
Kyle Amundsen.
And we have Troy Schreifels in the house. How you doing, sir?
Oh, are you kidding? I can't find the words to express how I feel sitting between two people of your stature, to be honest with you.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
That's the first time actually I've sat down with two other bald people, and it was like we're like the three bald stooges,
Right. I think I said that on Facebook that you were a member of the Bald and the Beautiful.
Oh, so, thanks, man. See, I appreciate that. Gosh.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, Troy is the liaison officer at the Brainerd School District, and you have been for how long?
Ooh, I think this is my 13th or 14th year that I've
Yeah.
been there.
So,
yeah,
long time,
long
yeah.
time. But half of my career, because May would have been 20 years that I've been a police officer in the area. So.
Really? Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And such a recognizable, well-liked, and well-respected
Oh, wow.
member of the community. Well, I have actually Cody Girdley, my right-hand man at work. I love it. He's like family to me. I love this guy like a brother. He's been with me. He's been working with me for like 11 or 12 years now. Like
Wow.
his like whole adult life. And there's two guys. He's a great guy. He's a stand-up dude. But he was a knucklehead when he was a kid. And there's two
remember Cody.
men that he points to as like positive male influences, male role models in his life. And one is his stepfather, and the other one is you.
Whoa.
He's, oh man, just last night he's like, "That's great that you're having Troy on the show." He's like,
wow.
"Ask him how many breaks he cut me back in the day." And, I mean, and just your approach and stuff. Like he's a huge fan of yours, and and really like he turned into a great dude, and apparently you have a lot to do with that.
Well, I appreciate that. Wow, thanks, man.
You bet.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is being a liaison officer all about? Like, what do you do?
Wow. Do you have a couple hours?
Yeah. You have as long as you want.
I speak to a lot of some civic organizations and parent groups and student groups and all that stuff, and it's a very common question. And I always have to start by telling a story about how I first got into the position. And I was a beat cop, for the Brainerd PD, for about 11, 12 years. And my wife was a school teacher in the district. My kids were young. And sometimes, in your careers, you're just kind of looking for something different.
Right.
I mean, I've been working night shift for, 13, 14 years. And I just kind of felt that, and I did a stint as a year as a supervisor on a night shift with patrol. Anyway, so this position comes up, and I had some friends who were administrators and teachers and all this stuff, and they said, "Hey, you should go for this position." I went, "It's Monday through Friday, 8 to 4, and I just thought to myself, working the night shift and dealing with all those kids at night and this and that. And I thought, no way, Jose. That's at the time, that's what I thought, But anyway, so I thought, what the heck, I'll give it a shot. So I put my name in it. There was a few of us in there, and lo and behold, and I got it. And I'll tell you this. I mean, it is the position has evolved immensely since I first started in it, right?
Oh, I bet.
But I will have to say this, that the position itself, working with our youth, not only has it made me a better police officer, but it's made me a better human being overall in general, especially a dad.
Right.
And I tell all those groups that, because, and I feel so compassionate about that, right? Because it has.
Right.
And on a quick side note, and there's several people that I can kind of contribute to that, and one of them's MT.
Well, thanks.
Well, remember those times you had the eclectic?
No,
cafe?
I don't remember it at all.
Well, those times you bringing the kids in, even though there was some small clashes,
there were some pig fucking classes. What are you talking about?
I'm just trying to be nicer, but
I was. It's interesting because there was a time period when the police were
Right.
my enemy, and I wanted to fight them back in the early days of the eclectic. But we were able to kind of get through that. There was some I remember me and Lyman Dahl, man.
Oh.
We just would mash.
I remember those days.
Heads. But in the end, we ended up coming together, and we had like this. I remember one time he called me one time, and he was like, he basically said, that stuff that, it's done, nothing, it's over. And I was like, Lyman, are you apologizing to me? And he goes, no.
That sounds like him. Yeah, that sounds like him.
But we're good. And then hung up. I was like, perfect. So yeah.
Cool.
Are you apologizing? No. But I ended up really,
Don't push it,
really
kid.
liking the guy. Well, see, back then, I was going in and filming the city council meetings.
You
remember?
were
And
making
then-
a name for himself already.
And then
back
I would edit the meetings together, and I would do commentary, and I would make fun of them. That's all I do, because I was pissed off because they weren't being videotaped, and I wanted there to be. Back then they didn't have cameras in there, and I was
Right.
like, okay, well,
Yep.
if you're not
Yep.
going to do it, then I'll do it, and I will be mean about it, and I was, but I used to make a lot of fun of Lyman Dahl, and he was a fan. He loved it. He thought it was great, and that's kind of how we ended up getting together. He said, I think what you're doing is really cool here, and yeah.
But the bottom line was as though you were making a good, safe place for those kids to come.
Right. It took a while for the community to figure it out.
Exactly.
But, yeah.
I sit on the shop board, went through
Yep.
the same thing there.
Yep.
When we first started that
Well,
with Cindy.
and the thing is whenever you get young people together, as you well know, I mean, you're gonna have some problems. I mean, you're gonna have bad apples in there. But
oh, absolutely. No, and anything.
it's true of anything.
True
right.
of anything. Yeah.
Yeah, like people would say, like.
Well, and a lot of green apples that might not necessarily be bad apples. They might become red apples later on.
Right.
But they're going through a green phase.
Right. Yep. Yeah, and I mean, I always say, like people talking about the shop, people are like, oh, there's a lot of drugs there. I was like, there's a lot of drugs at Walmart. There's a lot of drugs. There's a lot of drugs everywhere.
Yeah,
like
there is.
Whenever you get
Newsflash, there might be a lot of drugs in your house.
right, and there's no more or less there. It's just that it's young people and everybody seems to target and like well, I was gonna say that you one of the things that you do in my job, I work with youth a lot,
Yep.
and a lot of times you'll talk to my youth and like give them the tour, and whenever that's happening, I'm like I gotta go do that class today because I love going and watching these young people be able to ask you questions, and you tell fun stories, and you like really might be one of the first times they've had a positive interaction with a police
Right.
officer.
Right. What I always try to do is try to show the humanist side of a police officer.
Right.
Versus more the officious, what we call it,
Sure.
And that's why I teach a lot of my students too at the colleges. I teach as an adjunct instructor there.
Right.
But I do that with our youth in the high schools and every opportunity I get, with girls and boys sport and all that stuff. And sometimes my approach to it may not be that typical of a beat cop, and it just blows them away.
Right.
They go, most cops do this. I said, yeah, I'm not most cops.
Right.
But I am a police officer, but to really show them that you're a human being, and kids, and really, I mean, it's nothing that, this has been documented and whatnot, but the bottom line is that kids know, kids care, and kids will know when you're feeding them a bunch of bullshit.
Oh, for sure.
And so a lot of times is that if you just kind of like smack them, figuratively speaking, right there and say, hey, listen, this is how things are, they're like, oh. But it's just, I don't know what it is with I kind of get it to a certain degree, but when people see a large group of kids, they're kind of intimidated by that.
Oh, for sure.
And until they kind of get to know. And
It's because teenagers are pack animals and they can be vicious.
yeah, that's true. That's true. So not only sometimes do I go in and help educate kids on all this stuff, but Cindy and now Aaron Wilmot, the new ED there, do a nice job along with some of us in the community in educating our community and saying, listen, these kids, I mean, they're volunteering, they're doing a bunch of things, they volunteer in a lot of organizations. I'm involved in nonprofits, and now over the course of I think we had our 10th year anniversary coming up here now for the shop. That these people that were skeptics of the shop are now donating to the shop.
Right. Right.
Which is just cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. So you are I don't even know what those words mean. Adjunct instructor? Is that-
Adjunct, yeah.
What's adjunct mean?
Adjunct is like a part-time instructor. I'm
okay.
not a full-time staff member for the Central Lakes College. I'm just a part-time, and it's a fancy word. And see, I even got you there, didn't I? I said adjunct, and you were like,
right? Yeah, I know.
It doesn't do much for us.
Yeah,
we're easily baffled.
My sister watches the show all the time, and she's smart, and like she just sent me a message the other day, and it's a cool message. I'm gonna show it to you later. But at the end of it, she says, and wolves were started to be domesticated 20,000 years ago. I scream at my phone the entire time you guys talk. Love you, bye. Because I we're always saying just completely like random.
We'll throw numbers out there knowing that she's watching. I think the number I fired off was 500 billion years ago.
Well, we were talking about when wolves became dogs, and Kyle's like, it was somewhere around like 5 billion years ago.
There's love there.
So what do you do at the college? You teach?
See, I started getting involved in college about 13 years ago, because I'm a defensive tactics instructor, use of force instructor, firearms instructor.
You want to roll or something?
Actually, there's only a few people that intimidate me. MT is one of them.
Yeah,
well,
not that tough.
Nobody wants to get some squirrely little guy like make him look bad. That's why I stay away from all my jiu-jitsu friends.
There you go. No, thanks.
I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
So
selfie.
So you teach defensive tactics?
Yeah. What it is that you have at Central Lakes College. They have a 2-year law enforcement program, criminal justice program, but then they have like a skills program, which is a 10-week program. It's like an academy type. And so they go into a lot of hands-on stuff. And I help teach a lot of that stuff. So,
cool.
Yeah.
And do you teach like the de-escalation?
Yes. Part of that, we have several different exercises that we call scenario-based training.
Okay.
Is one of them, and that's all part of it. Was the whole de-escalation thing. On top of that, myself and Dave Davis, good guy. He's one of the coordinators for the criminal justice program there at the college, and he's a deputy sheriff too. He and I are trained on what's called the use of force simulator.
Okay. And
it puts you in it's a big screen, and it puts you into real life situations, and you de-escalate and have to escalate if need be, and so we teach a lot of that, which encompasses everything now. So.
Yeah, I think it's so important, like the teaching de-escalation, and it's a skill that is, I feel like as humans, we're not. It's not something that you do innately. Like we don't.
No, I don't feel it's like not a part of your fight or flight response.
Right.
Really.
Yeah. It's not.
Right. Actually, that's a good way of putting it.
It's
Kyle.
not
That's
flight, fight, or de-escalate
or freeze. There's the 3 Fs, but you're right.
Yeah,
it's de-escalate. You're
but
right.
It's not. It's flight, fight, or freeze. And like de-escalation is something you have to like be taught. You have to like learn to do.
Because everything else is just so emotionally driven.
Exactly.
And de-escalation, you're right. It's not. It's like, let me talk to you about that. No, it's either you're going to get up, fight, you're going to flee, or you're going to freeze up.
Right. Right.
So I mean, also probably. I mean, to me, it seems like that would be, like you, in order to teach that, like you've got to really like it seems like kind of an uphill battle, like a hard thing to teach, because I think like one of the really fundamental, one of the biggest assets you can have when you're like trying to de-escalate situations is confidence.
Right.
And it's really hard to teach people confidence. Like I always tell kids, kids, young men, whatever, like fake it till you make it, and then eventually, like you'll have actual confidence, and then that shit will be second nature, But it takes a while to build that, and like goal setting and goal achieving and stuff like that, is a good way to build your confidence. Mm-hmm. But I mean, if you're coming into a situation with like maybe not the most confidence, so much, like there's a stronger pull towards that emotional response when like someone with a lot of confidence, de-escalation is a lot easier to approach.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my kind of uneducated take on it.
Yeah, and the thing is it was unique for me, and as I've been a police officer 28 years, and 20 years ago, you didn't talk about de-escalation.
No.
That wasn't part of the vocabulary when you were teaching defensive tactics, this and that. It was either boom here or 100% escalate.
Right.
And get the threat and finish it over so nobody get hurt. So now the biggest challenge, and I really appreciate the challenge, is that me being a use of force instructor is implementing those de-escalation techniques. So now for people in-house training that I do in our department, for other departments, and for the college students. Excuse me. So I mean, and one thing about the great state of Minnesota, because outside of the weather, I mean, it's a great state to live in.
Absolutely.
Besides winter.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to
That-
put that in there.
That last January was so hard.
De-escalation was really hard in January.
Oh, I
And
tell you.
February.
Yeah.
And March. And April.
It's hard to get out of bed.
Man, I'm going to shoot this guy so I can get back in my car. It's a joke.
Anyway.
So,
You said uncensored, huh? Wow.
yeah, we're totally uncensored.
Go figure.
What the hell was I going with that, though? De-escalation.
Yeah, where were we?
Yeah, we're talking about de-escalation. Well,
Oh, and it's great state of Minnesota.
Oh, yeah, that's
and
it,
so,
right,
So
yeah.
now the standards and training, because it's called the Minnesota Standards and, excuse me, Standard and Training, and that now all police officers in the state of Minnesota, have to have a certain many hours
Right.
of de-escalation. And there's some departments like ours that go above and beyond that.
Right.
So,
And we were talking before about how like Minnesota is such a different state to become a police officer, and like the standards are very high, right? Weren't you saying it's?
And I think that
Yeah.
shows up, like,
oh, for
with
sure.
this,
Are you gonna die?
yeah, I'm just still really nervous between you two guys.
Did you smoke? Did you smoke weed before you came in here? This is not the Joe Rogan experience. It is not legal in the state of Minnesota.
Did you say uncensored?
Is this thing on?
Where were we?
We were talking about how Minnesota is a good state to be a copper.
Well,
a hard state
just
to become a copper.
a brief history about law enforcement. Minnesota was actually the first state in 1978 to require that you had a minimum of a 2-year education.
Really?
Yeah, and then
Nice.
required an actual license. At the end of that, it was actually 1979. I'm sorry. And so the
What did
standards-
you need in like Missouri? Just like a gun?
You'd be surprised at some of the, and not a knock to some of these southern states, but yeah, they're a lot less, looser
Yeah.
standards, liberal standards, I guess maybe would be the best way to put it, than what we have in Minnesota here. I mean, and it shows up in the recruiting, because in
Right.
some of the colleges and all that stuff, where states actually go to certain colleges recruiting police officers,
Right.
and a lot of southern states, Alaska, Hawaii, you name it, they're all coming.
Like, yeah, in a lot of those southern states, where some states recruit out of colleges and stuff, a lot of those southern states recruit out of 6th grade.
So,
me,
one of
gosh.
the things that we talk about
But it's okay because those guys are 18, 19 anyway.
a lot on here, it's come up a lot, especially recently, is all the school shootings and gun violence, and I know you came to my work and talked a little bit about active shooter.
Oh, sure.
Sure, your work at Starfleet headquarters.
I didn't want to mention it, but it's okay. Thanks.
Oh,
And
yeah.
now all of a sudden there's something you don't want mentioned.
Like the word social club. Okay, got it. Yes.
It's yeah. I actually probably will go and edit that out, just because if anytime I mention that place, then it opens me up to having to
Sorry.
be censored. But
This is for you, MT.
that
Sorry.
said, you came and did like a like an active
Threat response.
shooter,
Yep,
threat response. But what's the fucking solution to this
Wow.
deal,
Yeah,
man?
One of the things that I find quite interesting is that, people say that there is actually no profile. There isn't a profile for active shooters and all that stuff. Well, if you go back and you take a look, and there was a study made back in 2012, because I do a lot of threat response training and educating and whatnot, and threat assessments and stuff like that for business schools and churches and whatnot. But the thing is that there is, and I know there's a big political debate, and I get that. But what I see when I see the numbers and I see statistics and explanations and when agencies are able to interview these people, that there's a pattern of mental health that has, that,
Absolutely.
this has been documented and never talked about, was never brought up. Nobody dealt with the issue, and brought it up. So to me, that's one of the biggest things to do it. But what you see more often than not is that almost, I shouldn't say almost in every case, but a majority, I want to say roughly around that 70%, let's say since 2012, is that somebody knew
Yeah.
it was going to happen.
Yeah.
Somebody knew it was going to happen and didn't say anything.
It sure seems that way for
You know.
everything that we read and see. I mean, I think that's spot on.
You know,
And I mean, and there's like when we talk about what what is the solution? Well, there's no one solution.
Right.
It would like
Right.
any approach has to be multifaceted. Otherwise, you're setting yourself for failure right away. I mean, and like maybe the focus. I mean, definitely mental health, and
Right.
not letting them slip through the cracks and stuff, should be, at the forefront, if not, a key piece of the puzzle.
I just really feel sometimes that, politics sometimes gets in the way of, when a lot of your agencies like the FBI, Secret Service, and Homeland Security and all that stuff going, because they don't want to say, well, we don't profile. Well, profile is is a terrible thing, but outside of that, there's pattern recognition behavior that we all do inherently every single day of our lives.
I think profile has just turned into a dirty word.
Right, and it has.
We were talking about toxic masculinity earlier,
and how the term how masculinity has gotten hijacked now, and like
Right.
you say something, like you say masculine, and people right away go to like all these negative, behaviors and stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
So what I love to see is these larger agencies come out and say, hey, listen, here are a lot of the things to look for. Ding, 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 without any political implications involved. And somebody said something, because to me, that you could get down to the root of a lot of things, workplace violence and the schools and active shooters and all that stuff. And a lot of this stuff too. And I get this. There's a lot of data privacy stuff that's involved, in work and in the schools and all that stuff. But when you get a huge collaboration of agencies and mental health workers and all that stuff, and we have a crisis team at the high school full of great people, and if there's certain things that you can look out for, which we do, there's kind of a list. Excuse me, guys. That says, but it's just kind of a blanket generic,
Right.
but fine, it's something though. It's something that, every time we deal with a kid, and that if it's one of these kind of two things, and so we assemble the team together, and we go on from there, and anybody that says anything that's threatening in nature to themselves or to others, and outside of what we have in the schools, the law enforcement agencies has their own. We own what we call a start team that we can go above and beyond outside the school or the workplace and investigate. And but you're right, they're falling through the cracks.
One of the things that we brought up the other day, and I just thought about a lot after the show, was that the way we cover, the way we cover mass shootings, and we allow people to put out their manifesto, and there's so much coverage of it, and I think that's a part of the solution. Is for us to decide as a society to no longer give these people any time in the spotlight, man.
Yeah, don't turn it into a platform for them.
Right. And I think we should just agree as a civilization to stop covering school shootings, period. And having you don't get your name in the paper,
right.
You don't get anything. And I don't know if that's a big part of the solution, but it's just been something that's just been so tragic lately, and I can't stop thinking about it.
When you talk about glamorized, you have some of them that unintentionally, I would like to think unintentionally, do glamorize those type of things, which makes it attractive to somebody else.
Well, we know that attention is attention. If your kid is acting out there and wanting attention, and you spank them, it's attention.
Right.
Good point. If they're, so like.
I know if I'm acting out and I get spanked, never mind. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, I wish there were better solutions. So switching gears just a little bit.
Oh yeah, you bet.
No, you're great. I wanted to talk a little bit about your run for deputy sheriff with Picard.
Oh yeah, I'd love to talk about that.
Picard.
Pat Picard.
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 I always want to call him Picard.
Who's another?
Like Jean-Luc Picard.
Another guy that I super enjoy. And man.
Is Pat?
Yeah, and a beast on the basketball court.
Really?
You don't run into that guy in the low post.
I don't know him that very well. Met him only really a couple times, and it was when you guys were out, campaigning and stuff. But I remember when I first saw the flyer or whatever, and I right away got on the Facebook and said, I said, I don't know Pat very well, but if Troy is in his corner, then he's got my vote, because he's one of the best humans, let alone cops, have ever known.
You know what I did with that? I did a screenshot
Yeah.
and printed it and put it in a frame, and it's hanging in my bedroom.
You're lying.
That's awesome.
What?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's just love, baby. When I first saw it, I was like, wow, that was just so cool. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. I'm disappointed that you guys
Me too.
didn't win
This time.
this time. But man, I thought you ran a fantastic
Thank
campaign. Super clean.
Yep.
You
And
never-
Sure.
Yep, super clean.
You never talk shit about any of them.
Nope.
Yeah.
No, and that's the whole thing. You know, when Pat approached me on that, that's the one thing I said was, listen, because you may not know, Con, but in 2006, I ran for sheriff.
I remember, yeah.
You know, and it was one of those things. I'm gonna give it a shot. I want to feel what it's like to go out there, and I just always remember being very positive. Of course, everybody was very positive. You know, and I appreciated that. But and that was 06. So now we're talking so that's what 12 years later. And doing a lot more in the community and more mature professionally, well, sort of, you know, personally. And then when Pat approached me on this, you know, I'll be honest with you, I was a little hesitant. Well,
it's a hell of a lot of work.
It is. It is. You know, not as much as work as for Pat, than as Pat, but it's just one of those, okay, do I want to throw myself out there again?
Right.
You know, because it was 2006, I knew I was not going to win. I was kind of testing it.
Right.
You
right.
know?
And there's something liberating about like doing something where you're I remember when I had my MMA fight. So like in the third round, I realized there was no chance. Right. And they're switching from fighting to win and fighting to just not lose. It was a big thing, and kind of liberating. But so there's something liberating about going out there and picking a fight you can't win, but just to see where you're at and go out there and do it. But I thought you and Pat had a really good shot.
As did I.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
Well, because like when I saw that, I was like, whoa, you know, because I'd known Pat for quite a while, and I was like, man, I'm like, well, this is the guy that you want to show up if you call 911. You know, I mean, because I'm a big fan, and he's always been a solid dude, and I really I mean, granted, like, okay, like if I don't really I didn't know anything about the competition really, so I was like, of course, but I mean,
some biased,
I was biased, but I was surprised. I was surprised.
Surprised that they didn't win?
Yes.
I was too, actually. Yeah. You guys were pretty close, though.
In the primary, we led by 75 votes over Scott. And but out of 30,000 votes for sheriff, we lost by 2,000.
Right. So that's, I mean, that's.
Yeah. I thought it would be 1,000 either way was my prediction, and I had really nothing to support that. However, but I was realistic, after the primary, I was pretty re-energized. I mean, it was already energized, but just re-energized, and so was the base. But I'll tell you what, Scott ran a great campaign, and some supporters, and that's one of the things is that when we're running in a campaign like for running for sheriff is a little bit different because it's not so much politically, I mean, as far as having your Democrats, Republicans, this
right.
and that. It's a different type of a campaign.
Yeah, and I'm sure it doesn't sting as much when it's somebody that you respect. I mean,
right? No, true. No, that you're exactly right. However, it's more of a popularity contest that but I mean, I will say this is that and being aware of some other involved a little bit in some other campaigns and whatnot, but that it appeared that let's just say, gosh, thousands of people that we had contact with. I want to say a couple hundred maybe had asked us about platform.
Right.
I mean, it was, how much do you bench? Or, well, yeah, good physique there. Oh, 2 ball gaps. You got my vote already, I mean, it was just kind of.
Actually, I got to tell you, that was what sold me was the baldness.
So you were biased as well,
I'm
huh?
so shallow.
We go to the same barber, clearly.
I didn't ask what your platform was, but I just felt like I knew you, and I knew you would just do a good job.
Right.
Is it hard because you work with these people all the time, so
Yeah.
now you're out there kind of competing against the people that you work with. Does that make it difficult, or is that
It does. It
Okay,
does.
yeah, I thought
Actually,
that
that's a really good question, Matt, because these guys, and people that were still currently with the sheriff's department too. I mean, they're friends of mine, and they have been friends of mine for a long time. So I mean, my approach is that it's never personal, and it was never personal.
Right.
But I'm running with somebody who's running for a position, and if that person wins and gets that position, I get a new position. And a new opportunity to try something different. So I was selfish about that. I'll be the first one to admit that. But you're right, because some taking it maybe a little personal, and so trying to reconcile some of those relationships a little bit. But all in all, there's no less love for these guys out there, and I made that known throughout the whole campaign. It was certainly challenging. And the bottom line is, now that's over and done with.
Yep.
If I were to do it all over again, would I? Absolutely, I would.
That's what I was going to ask you next.
absolutely,
Yeah.
I
Are you guys thinking? What is it? Is sheriff for 4 years?
It is. I don't know if Pat will or not, but I've kind of taken my name out of the ring.
You've taken your name out of the ring?
Yeah, about any future running by myself.
Oh, I
or
thought
running
you
with
just
somebody.
said you would.
No, they asked me if to do it all over again this way. I mean, the previous.
So no, you're not going to do it?
So put it this way: I have no plans to run for sheriff.
That's a political answer right there.
You like that,
Man, I respect that.
Well,
Make my hair stand up.
I find that unacceptable.
I looked at things is that I have 5 or 5 years left as a police officer.
You're like 32.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I just turned 49.
Huh.
So I mean, but it's a lot of work.
I was feeling
Yeah.
good
A lot
about
of
how I
stress.
was holding up.
And then just like, do I want to? And part of me is no. I mean, I'm this guy, right? I'm this guy that we ran a great campaign. It was, and I had a very, very what I call a humbling experience, because the day of the election, the evening of the election, or the morning of the election, the following morning, it was about 2 o'clock that I got to bed. I actually fell asleep about 4 o'clock, and I was up at 6. And I remember, I could have taken the day off, but I didn't. I wanted to go to work, okay? And so it's, it's already a month into school. No, a couple months into school, sorry. But here's what was weird, and here's what was very humbling. When I walked in to that school, I showed up just a little bit late, so the halls were full, okay? And in the high school, it's roughly 2,000 kids,
Right.
okay? They stopped. It's like everybody knew. It was just the weirdest thing ever. I walk in there, and they're all, they just like, God, we're sorry, Schreifels. And I go, wow. And to me, I walked in my office and I started crying. Just thinking these kids, a lot of kids, hundreds of kids came up, were following this,
Right.
or their parents, or, that it was going on. And that was just so humbling. And so what it told me, and as the course of the year went out and processing this, that for me, I'm this guy, that the big guy said, you need to stay here.
Well, I do remember when I first talked to you about the campaign, I was said, man, like, I think you do be a great sheriff, but man, you're a fantastic liaison officer,
Oh,
and I
sure.
think the school would super miss you.
That's
Also,
very
if
valid
those
point.
fucking kids could vote, you would have landslide. I'm telling you, I bet you if we, I bet we could, I bet you would have like everybody would have voted for you from school, because I know that they just love you there. I mean,
Oh,
the kids
thanks.
love you, and you're the asshole cop. Like, it's not a thing.
I know.
It's like now I remember when I was growing up, Keith Emerson was
Oh, sure,
the
yeah,
liaison
yeah.
officer, and I was a rough kid. I was a really rough kid.
Really?
Oh yeah, man. I had 8 felonies when I was 16. Yeah.
That's when I met him.
Yeah.
No kid. I did not know that.
Yeah, I'll tell at some point. I'll tell you the whole story. But yeah,
Wow.
I was a rough kid, and Keith to this day is a good friend of mine, and he was
He's a good
always
guy.
he
Yep,
was
good
always
guy.
there for me, and always. There was one story I'll tell, and this is probably not even legal, but whatever. I was at some summer school thing, and there was a big group. It wasn't actually a summer school thing. It was like a PIP group or something. I can't remember. But a bunch of kids. We're sitting around, whatever. Well, I've been up all night and drinking and whatever, and I passed out. I fell asleep in there, and Keith came in to the room to like talk or whatever, and he sees me like crashed out there, so he handcuffs me. And then like wakes me up, and there's all these kids are around, and I like freak out, and I'm like, get up, you, and I'm kicking, and he's like, Matt, mellow out, man, it's just a joke. But I thought I was going down.
I thought I was going down.
Yeah.
Well, you know, and kind of going back to where we started in the beginning here is that what really worked for me, and Keith was good at this too, is that you can never put enough into relationship building.
Right.
And that's with everything.
Right.
And you know what? Even with kids.
Yeah. Kids, it's by far the most important. Like if somebody asks me, like, and I'm not being flippant, like, what is my job? Right. My job is to build relationships.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
that's all my job is. Yeah. And I do some other shit, but I build relationships. That's the important.
And you're good at it.
I feel like I am.
You're
I'm not always good at it. But when I am, you know. I mean, like, well, with anything, you know, like, some people are easier to help than others.
Oh, absolutely.
And I've always been I'm a big fan of the idea of giving somebody a hand up, you know,
Right.
not a hand out.
Right.
Yeah. But no, I do enjoy it.
If I may.
You certainly may.
Just kind of going back a little bit, you know, we're talking about this, going back to the de-escalation stuff a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, over the last several years, I've been doing some reading, and I heard some, you know, been at a couple of conferences with kids and a lot of stuff. And when I speak to certain student groups and whatnot, especially if kids need to come and see me or I need to go see them, is that, you know, emotions, we talked earlier about emotions motivate us, right? And to do some of the things. You know, if it's spontaneous, you know, if it's impulsive and all that stuff. But think about a kid who's not, the frontal lobe is still not fully developed yet.
Yep.
And they're so anxious, especially now you put them in the hallways or in a school where they're around a lot more people. They're even more anxious.
Right.
And they say something, somebody says something, or and the first reaction, they do something impulsive, and it's, you know, disorderly by nature or something like that. And I have, over the last several years when it comes to de-escalation, is that 99.9% of the time when I walk into a room, if a kid needs to be escorted out of the classroom or I need to go find him somewhere, 99.99 tenths, and tenths upon that tenths, they always do exactly what I ask, you know. And so, but it's not one of, you got to come with me, you know.
Right.
Very, very, you know, out of a million times, maybe one time.
Right.
You know, but most, and it's a lot of times it's because of the relationships.
Right.
I make it my business to get to know all 2,000 kids in that.
Right.
Not on a very personal level, but just enough that, well, I kind of stick out, you know, in that school. And so I stand in the middle of hallways and I try to get out there, and it's the SRO position is it's chaotically busy.
Yeah.
But I don't mind that, you know. I mean, time flies and all stuff. But when you can build this relationship with these kids, and I go find a kid and I said, hey, listen, you know, you need to come. Well, I don't want to go in and all that stuff. I said, hey, listen, you know, I've been good to you, haven't I? That'd be pretty disrespectful if you didn't come with me. Besides that, I'm much bigger than you, and I can just, you know.
Right.
I was going to say, sometimes that sort of thing lends a little bit to diplomacy.
But I try to be,
too.
but I try to be humorous about it, though. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I try to be humorous about it, and then they do that. But a lot of times when I bring the kids into my office, okay, it's not a huge office, it's decent. But when I bring them in, I sometimes have them sit in my own chair behind the desk.
Yeah.
And I sit on the other side.
Yeah.
You
Give
know,
them the position of power.
exactly. And I says, okay. Here's what, you know, I got to know the kid pretty well for the most part, you know. And I says, here's what you did. And I look at him and I say, Schreifels, what are you going to do? You know what most kids respond to a lot of times? Well, throw your ass in jail. I said, boom. How do you think most of the cops respond to you with an attitude like that? Yeah. You know, you kind of turn things around a little bit. And sometimes you just have to be.
So you're saying that you make them you, and then you
Right.
ask them what
Yep.
they would. That's a really
Yep.
good approach, dude.
Yeah. Well, because
Yeah.
a lot of times, you know, when you bring them in, And we know as adults because we're still anxious to a degree. We just know how to manage it better.
Sure, we've got like that bag of tool, all those
Right.
all those tools that we've like learned and accumulated over the years and stuff for coping and dealing and stuff that you don't have when you're 15 years old.
Right. Well, yeah, and you just mentioned that, like, you're saying, this 16-year-old kid, the frontal lobe isn't even, and I mean, we know now that, like, people don't even stop, like, developing until they're, like, 24.
Right.
So,
Exactly,
like,
yeah.
and even me as we talked about this a lot of times, but even me as an adult who, have insurance on my car, a valid driver's license, am sober, and don't have any drugs in the car, when fucking cherries come on, I shit my pants.
Oh, I do too.
I hate it,
Even in my car. No, I'm kidding.
You were telling a story about getting a ticket when I had the kids over there the last time, but you were like, it just cracked me because you're like, total speed trap.
It was. It was. But, you think about the anxiety level. So what I try to do best when they come in is to decrease that. So when they come in and start getting on them right away about it, we just kind of talk in generality. Then you can kind of see them relax a little bit, and to me, that is just the key. And a lot of times when you're working patrol, you don't have that luxury.
Because you don't have a relationship.
Correct.
Right.
And
we were talking a little bit before about de-escalation, but it's like about confidence and so on and so forth.
Sure.
But the thing is I mean, like when you're doing just a traffic stop, there's an element of danger there that, is potentially, fatal. And so that just adds into all of the, we know we can't make decisions well when we're full of adrenaline and cortisol. Like we're operating in the lizard brain, and the lizard brain is like kill it.
Yeah, true. But what's really nice is that about the whole scenario-based training and that use of force simulating and all that stuff, that time after time, that kind of the muscle memory type stuff, it helps.
Repetition.
For sure.
Repetition, it helps. However, but there isn't like a complete science out there that is, but it does help under certain stress, especially with experience.
Do you know what I think that everybody should do jiu-jitsu? Because in jiu-jitsu, like, no matter how tough you are, you're not that tough. Right.
Yep, that is true. Yeah.
So there's always going to be somebody who's just going to like treat you like a bitch, and you have to surrender to it.
So, yeah.
And when you're there and you have this monster on top of you, just like beating the piss out of you, and you can like be okay.
Set your
you
ego
just know
aside.
you're okay. Yeah. And I always say it's not like learning to swim; it's like learning to drown, and then be okay with it. And I think that
cool.
that
I never
training
heard it that way. Yeah.
Well, it's because it's me.
Yeah.
I made that up.
Yeah.
But
it's like Matt's special forces over here.
It's one of those things that like really helps in other situations. So like if I'm in a situation where I have to, whatever, like I can be pretty calm about it. Like I'm not activating my emotions.
Right.
In my fight even, I felt like there was a little, I mean, the guy was super tough too, but I maybe was too calm. I was so zen. I was just there.
So zen.
I didn't, but plus he was tough. But there's that.
Well, and that I actually agree. I think everybody. I mean, if you're gonna, you want to pick something up that's gonna help you in like every facet of life, why not jiu-jitsu?
Yeah.
For me, like another thing like that is that whole punch in the face thing. I think everybody should get punched in the face at some point.
Humility is a good thing.
Oh my! I was thinking about that.
Humility is a great thing.
When you mentioned the like the humbling experience the day after the election and stuff like that, like humbling experiences are usually wasted on people that don't have a certain level of emotional maturity.
Right.
But like when you have the emotional maturity, humbling experiences are worth their weight in gold. So
you are right, Kyle.
valuable.
You are 100% right.
I don't disagree that everybody should get hit in the face at some point in their life.
It shows you that you're not made of glass.
Right.
You're gonna recover.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
I actually hate getting hit in the face, though. I just hate it. But I was just gonna I don't want to get too long on the jiu-jitsu thing, but I think jiu-jitsu specifically versus other martial arts has this like really a beneficial, humbling portion to it.
I've heard
because
that.
you can
I've
go out
actually
and get
heard that
pieced
before, yeah.
by a guy on your feet, and it's like whatever. But it's just different having a guy laying on top of you, and you know you can't do anything about it. It just sucks. So switching gears again. Oh, I'm gonna look at my note though. Or did you have something?
No.
Oh.
I mean, yeah, but
So,
it's not time sensitive.
Your daughter
Oh,
Serena
wow, yeah.
is hot, like professionally hot.
I love that. Professionally high. I like that. Yeah, she's a pretty gal. Yeah.
Is she a model or something?
She won't tell us what
Actually,
she is.
yeah, well, she technically is a model. Yeah, no, has a couple modeling contracts. But yeah, she's professionally. That was good. I like that. She's a good kid. She's been doing pageants now since she was like 14. She's 23 now. I'm hoping she stops soon. But so me and the pageant world haven't exactly meshed well because I'm not about glitz and glamour and all this stuff.
Sure.
You know,
You're wearing too much makeup.
well, you know, they just put so much emphasis on this. However, the one thing I will say, and thanks for bringing this up and asking, Matt, is that, you know, my daughter really struggles with depression.
Really?
Yep. Really struggles with depression and has when she spent this year, her junior year at Purpose School of Arts in the cities. That's when it really came to surface. And come to find out she was diagnosed with, I think they call it like MPPD or something like that. It's just only about 14% of adolescents get it, the females in the world. And so she does take an antidepressant with it. But the biggest thing where she's really kind of, I shouldn't say conquered because she didn't conquer it, but embraced it and is doing something with it, is that that's her platform. So the last 5 years or so, she's made this her platform. And that's where I'm most proud of her as a dad, is that she's really brought it out. And she works nationally with the National Alliance of Mental Health. Institute of Mental Health, and goes on to speaking in the metro area and stuff on it and stuff. But so that's where she's really propelled herself. And
you were just down at a pageant with her, and she's Miss
Minnesota.
She is Miss Minnesota.
Yep.
And then she was going for Miss USA.
Actually,
or what? Like you tell me. I don't know.
Actually, close. So there's several different pageant systems in the country, and you have USA, Miss Universe, Miss America, then you have Miss United States and Miss International. And in the USA and America are just top tier.
Okay.
Miss United States is a great pageant system, all that stuff, but it's just like, I guess, best way to explain it, lack of a better description, one tier underneath that. So it's a nationally recognized pageant there. But we were in Las Vegas for the national pageant. So.
Okay. Because we wanted, how I knew about it was that you, when we were trying to schedule this, and you said, no, I'm down at the
that's right,
at the pageant,
yeah,
and then I was like, weird, and then I was snooping around on your Facebook, and then I was like, oh my God, your daughter is beautiful, and her, and then I went and like stalked her a little bit, and she has some really fantastic, like she's a model, and she's an awesome model, and like the art. I think it's art. Like her,
I guess
her
I
art
guess
is.
so, yeah. I call it a job, but
It's great. I mean, she has some really awesome.
Well, and I think you know, and we all know this, but I don't know if everyone knows this. Pageant girls get a bad rap. I know a lot of pageant girls.
You do. Yeah,
my friend Savannah Cole.
So love her.
Yeah, wonderful girl. I'm gonna get her on the show here, you know, sooner or later. But a great girl, very, you know, just impressive in every way. She was Miss Minnesota, and also one of my bouncers for a while out at Zorbas.
And she does jits too.
And
That's right. She
so
does.
she's
That's right,
you know, like multifaceted, charming, brilliant. You know, like, and that's what pageant girls are like. You know, they're not.
Brother. I'm
Well,
into that.
you like I don't know anything about the pageant world, but I know you gotta you have to talk. You have to be articulate.
Oh yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah. There's no, you know,
And have interests and personality and stuff like that. You know, like I think that it's fun to focus, you know, because these girls are attractive. You know, like people will single them out and focus on, you know, maybe this girl's not exactly articulate or whatever. You know,
Right.
so like, and then they focus on that girl and poke fun at her. And meanwhile, these girls are not dumb.
No.
This is a disciplined and demanding world to be in, and and these girls are not what a lot of people think they are.
That said, you'll be happy when she retires.
Yeah, I'll say this is that where my daughter is today, and again she still struggles with the depression thing, but I mean she's come so far.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, it's the best money I've ever spent. Oh. Because I believe the pageant world has actually helped her in that sense. Yeah. That she's getting out there and gets to talk about it, and she's won several of the interview portions of it because the way she articulates and whatnot, and talks about what she's doing with the with NAMI and stuff. So yeah, but I just she just graduated in spring from college, and she's moving to the Twin Cities. We're moving her next weekend. And she's got some theater gigs that she's working on in the cities, and she has Molly contract. She's got another job to help supplement that, But I just would like her to kind of settle down and kind of work and just. But the pageant world, it just takes so much time
and money
and even it was funny because afterwards, I said, well, maybe this was God's way. She made it the top 10, and this is God's way of saying, it was a good run, and here we go, all stuff. And she looks at me, she goes, or maybe God's saying, you need bigger. I'm like,
So
that's winner talk.
Yeah, I guess.
She is. Yeah, she seems like a winner. And speaking of winners, your son Evan is a badass, like a professional badass.
Yeah. It takes after Dad a little bit, maybe. Maybe a little bit. Yeah, he's a good kid too.
So he just graduated from.
Yeah, he spent a couple years out at Norwich. It's a senior military college out in Vermont, and things just just wasn't for him. And he said, "Dad, I'd like to enlist and have the military pay for my rest of my college." I said, "Go for it." Cool. So what had happened was, interesting, quick story if I may.
Yeah, this is what we do.
is that he joined the Army National Guard. And they have a great educational package. Where was it when I was in high school, right? So, so he did that, and the funny thing was that he wants to do infantry. He wants to be that badass.
Right.
He wants to do infantry, and I said, great. So we got a hold of a recruiter and came out and says, what, we're giving away a $20,000 signing bonus. My son was like, sweet, but it's not for infantry; it's for communications. Right? He was like, oh my gosh.
What's that?
Oh, like, boring.
Gotcha.
I fall asleep.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Kyle was on board with that one.
I had no idea, but I figured it was a cop thing.
So anyway, make a long story short, what happened was that once he was going through his maps and this and that, he came back 2 weeks later and he says, hey, Dad, they're not offering a $20,000 signing bonus for communications again, because he was going to give up his infantry to do communications so he'd get his $20,000 signing bonus. And I thought, no, that's good. He's motivated, right? So anyway, make a long story short, he comes back 2 weeks later and he says, hey, Dad, they're not giving away that $20,000 signing bonus for communications. I says, God, that's a real bummer. He said, no, I just found out they're doing it for infantry. So I get so he get the Zoom. Anyway, so he's gone for 6 months. He's infantry at Fort Benning, OSAT, whatever, and stuff like that. Then he gets approached by 2 Liaison Special Forces Marine guys about 4 or 5 months into training. And
so he must have been getting noticed, excelling at some stuff.
He just looks like a badass, man. I mean, yeah.
So he was and a buddy of his, because they were top in their platoon and shooting and PT and all this other stuff. And
microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry. My bad. That's my bad. In PT and peer evaluations. Mm-hmm. So, make a long story short, so they approached him and says, hey, listen, have you ever thought about it? Evan's like, yeah, in my dreams. So here he gets approached, and so what they did is they offer well, I guess it's a 6-month contract. And in that 6 months, you get a certain score on your ASVAB or GT score and this and that, because we want you to try out. That's
right.
why we're here. So now, make a long story short, so after he graduates, they says, go home a little bit, take your test. And once you have that, you have a 6-month window. straight shot for tryout. So so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. How do you feel about it, though? I mean, like, there's got to be a part of you that's like, man, I do not want my kid to go be a bullet sponge.
Right.
Nope.
Should have joined the Air Force.
Yeah. You know, there's a part of me that is, because the reality is
Of course,
that
naturally.
yeah, but then again, that's where I was at that age.
Right.
I mean, I was either go to college and become a police officer or go in the military. I mean, I was right at that crossroads, right at that T, and you know, the school thing just wasn't working out right away. And I said, "What do you want to do?" You know, this one. I said, "But as long as you're pursuing what you're happy with, that's going to make us happy." But you know, the thing is about the special forces, though, as a dad learning about it, is this whole Green Bay thing. And you know, training is about 18 months.
Right.
You know, but they do so much. You know, it's just not a fast reaction, hit, punch, and but that they do so much. So part of me is just really intrigued by it. But you're right, Kyle. There's a lot of part of me that's going, you know, why don't you become communications or something?
Yeah, that communication sounded good.
Anyway.
So I listened to the Jocko Willink podcast quite a bit. You ever listen to that?
I've heard of it. I have never listened to it. No.
God, it's so good. But he's a Navy SEAL, and then now he started a company where he like goes in and he basically like helps, you know, companies get their shit together using like SEAL tactics. It's cool, but he's just a super interesting guy. But to maybe help set your mind at rest, the truth is, the higher trained you are, the better chance you have of like surviving the combat.
Oh yeah,
like
good point.
SEALs don't die very often.
No, they don't. No,
and that's
right.
just a fact. Like being, you know, being infantry, like I don't know much, like whatever, but being the bottom line infantry guys, that's not the job you really want.
Right.
It's cool. Somebody's got to do it. Thank you.
You're right.
But being the high level special forces dudes, they're not usually the ones dying. They're usually the ones doing the other side.
Right.
Yeah. Super cool though.
Yeah, I want the best for him. My wife and I were just talking about this, you know, this morning. I just got back from church and we were having breakfast, and you know, and she just says, you know, something could have happened to him. I said, yeah, he could walk across the street and get run over by a bus. You know?
Right. We are. Yeah.
You know.
I've always tried to live my life with the whole like, you know, William Wallace, you know, idea of like, you know, everybody dies, but you know, not everybody gets to live, and like
that's a very good point. I like that. Yeah, I like that. Not everybody gets to live. That's true. But thank you for asking about that.
Yeah. So is that it? Just the two kids, or?
Yep, just two kids.
You don't have one loser?
Just me. Yeah.
Well, you seem like you did a really good job with it.
Wait, we're not going to talk about the one that's sitting at home, high as hell, just playing video games.
Playing video games, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's take a little break. All right, everybody, welcome back to Spitballing. I'm here with my good buddy,
Kyle Amundsen.
And again, we have Troy Schreifels in the house. We were just talking on the break about how much fun we're having. We could just do this all day.
This is like the best Sunday ever.
Right. We, like, when we don't do one, which we've only missed one Sunday since we started.
Are you serious? Wow.
Right?
I think a couple. I think we basically, once a month we take a Sunday off.
I thought we only missed one. But regardless, it's just like a hole in my life. Like, yeah.
This is actually really cool. It's
I really need to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what do you have on your list, Kyle?
Well, there's one thing I need to kind of like preface this a little bit, like set this one up. And this is a more less school liaison officer question and more of a cop question. But like first, like I want to say that just so that people kind of like understand, like I get like the whole, for lack of a better term, we'll call it what I understand is like a loyalty onion. Not a great term. Don't ever use that. But like you know, like the people in your life, you know, like peers and friends and family and stuff. So like out here on the outside, you know, like you might have like at this level, you've got you know, people like well, you know, like I like you, but like don't put me in that situation, you know, blah blah blah, you know, like how far you're willing to go for these people. Then you know, a little bit closer, you've got, you know, I love you, but I'm not gonna lie for you, you know, like. And then you get closer to the inside, you know, like towards the core, and you've got like you got a problem, say no more, fam, you know, and then at the very core you're like, of course I'll help you hide a body. Like,
right.
Is that even a question?
Yeah.
So like I understand loyalty, at least that's my understanding of loyalty. But like I don't know, this is like how, like I see the whole like closing ranks thing on a lot of issues, you know, when there's when like police brutality and stuff like that's in the news, and I couldn't help but, you know, I can't help but notice like, I mean, even if it's a cop that like in a different state, you know, that you don't know, you know, like there's like ranks seem to close really quickly, and it seems like like regardless of like how an officer might feel about that situation personally, they're always going to say, maybe not always, that's unfair of me, but more often than not it's nope, I totally get that, you know, like that's like you wouldn't understand. And I'm like, they beat that guy to death in the street, he screamed, you know, like I like sometimes it seems really cut and dried. And I think that's, you know, and I think bringing up stuff like that is like one of the reasons that, you know, I've had friends, you know, that think that like we've been tough on law enforcement in this. Now, that being said, you know, like I said, I don't necessarily know if I agree with that we've been tough on. But like, I know you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
like,
I'm with you 100%, Kyle. You bet.
Like, what is the, you know, I get the loyalty thing and stuff. But it just, like, in a way, it's impressive, like how ranks close like that, you know. But on the other hand, I think that, you know, that might be a problem in some ways, because it seems like it lends itself to like a lack of transparency and like loyalty. Like, where does loyalty, you know, butt up against, you know, your integrity, and you know, and like I said, I completely understand, you know, like I've been in situations where I'm like, I'd rather be loyal than right, you know.
Right.
But like, what would you say, like, where is the line on that sort of thing, you know, in your, I mean, I know you can only speak for yourself, but I mean, what like, how do you feel about that? What's your opinion on that?
You know, that is a very good question. It's a deep one too, and you know, it's appreciated. And it's one of the things, if I may say real quick, is that I appreciate questions like that. You know, because I'm one of these guys who likes to be 100% transparent.
Right.
Okay. And to be honest, you know, because information is key. It's power. You know, and
right.
people have a right to know. You know, and that's how I explained to somebody on a side note, real quick. I explained to some of these kids, ask me any question. You know, when I do it for you, guys.
Right.
Is any question? Tell me. I will tell you. And if I don't know the answer, I'll let you know. But this one may be somewhat more of could be protocol and philosophical type of a response. And you're right. I mean, the brotherhood in law enforcement is pretty deep, and it still is in a lot of things. But it's no different than a lot of other, where there's a lot of camaraderie involved in a certain profession. And you're right, you know, and it's just, and I believe sometimes that when people come out, and I'm one of these guys, is that you cannot tell what's going on just by watching on the screen.
Right.
You weren't there, you didn't see this, you didn't get the full report, their explanation on what happened, you know, this and that. And now, thank God, with body-worn cameras,
right,
that's a great thing. And we have all that information. And so I don't rush to judge. I used to. You know, I used to be that guy, automatically, boom, go right to the defense, even though I don't know shit. That's what you do, you know, you can't do that to a cop, blah, blah, blah. You know, and when I became a use of force instructor, I'm going, okay, yeah, this can happen, you know, because the bottom line is cops are human too.
Sure.
And there's room within our courts that said, hey, if you were acting responsibly, even though you made a mistake on something, we'll be there for you. Our courts have that.
Right.
You know, but here's what happens, I believe, theoretically speaking. Is that when you have the media sometimes, regardless if it looks like a good shoot, let's say I'm just or a beating, or you know, there was a confrontation. I'm just going to say confrontation between police and somebody that, you know, may be viewed as police brutality, or it was a bad shoot or something like that. Is that overall, I mean, there's a certain bias in certain medias. I mean, that's just so apparent that it's, you know, but you know what happens, cops will come to defense right away. They won't think about it, going, maybe, or they'll just automatically get on Facebook, they'll get on social media and all this other stuff, or we can be having a general conversation. I'd be like, shut up. You don't even know what the hell you're talking about. You're not a police officer. You
Right.
know, the bashful and stuff. Where I can sit here because I've testified in court, I'm having police officers who use force, and this and that, and stuff, and have a generalized conversation. And if we could put a case in front of us and do some sort of a tabletop exercise and break it down, But here's what I most often do. They go, well, Schreifels, we know 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I said, okay, great. I said, if you were in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, how'd you respond? Okay. So, but they also come to me and say, what's your opinion on this? I said, God, at this point, I don't know enough because I don't want to rush a judgment on anything.
Right.
15 years ago, I was the first one to rush a judgment on that. Is there not so good cops out there? Absolutely. Absolutely there.
Like any profession.
But thank you, Kyle. Like any profession.
Right. Right.
You know.
I think that part of the issue is that, with great power comes great responsibility.
Sure. Oh, absolutely.
And
Sure.
we and police are in a position of pretty great power.
Mhm. Agreed.
You got a gun and a bunch of other
Put your butt in jail
cool
too,
ass
MT.
And you can go to right. And so that is that's a hell of a lot of power, but and then there's a lot of responsibility that goes along with that. And you're right. The court system does allow, the rules for me shooting somebody are a lot different than the rules for a cop doing that in the line of duty, and they should be. They definitely should be because that's their job, and we have asked them to do that. I want to have a police force. I want to be protected and served. Give me a glass of water. No, just kidding. But I think that, again, with great power comes great responsibility. So I think that there is a lot of responsibility there. And when you have something goes bad, you
need to own it.
Yeah, that's the biggest
You
thing.
need to own it.
I think that's the
You need
biggest
to
thing.
own it.
I never hear.
Absolutely.
You need to own it.
Absolutely.
You need to own it.
I always, the example I could just think of is like politicians who just refuse to say, I'm sorry, I was wrong.
Man.
There's a great one. There's a great one with what's his name, Alec Baldwin doing Trump, and he's like, he's saying, I'd like to apologize. And are you apologizing? And he goes, oh no, I never do that. I like to apologize. So that's great. But it's like, man, I like when I fuck up, I don't always, but I sure try to own it. I mean, like we were talking a little bit on the break, and we were talking beforehand, like, it was a disaster on Saturday, and I'm ashamed of myself for not making it to the walk a mile, and I'm wearing the shirt of shame. Thanks, Meta. I own it, man. Like, fucked up. That was me.
Yeah,
Naughty.
If like grown men can, grown people, can apologize and and own, and at least do your best to try to own up your mistakes and stuff like that. Like nobody's perfect. I just that whole closing ranks thing and stuff.
That's a good question though, Kyle. And I'm glad you asked me that.
Well, I've been wanting to. I was like, is this even a polite question to ask?
Oh, absolutely.
And Matt was like, this is this exactly the guy that you can ask that question to. So.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
something I've always respected about you is there's never been anything that's off the table.
No.
Like with the kids, you'll let them ask you any crazy thing. Like if you ever taste yourself.
Oh yeah. There was a certain amount of humility with that one there, MT. I'll tell you that.
Well, you're going to tell the story now, right?
Oh yeah, I'd love to. But hey, can I say one more thing though about that?
Absolutely.
Is it, or did I forget already? What were we just talking about? No, I'm just kidding.
Closing ranks.
I'm closing in my ranks real quick, aren't I? There was one other point that I wanted to. Actually I thought a good point, but anyway, maybe it'll come back to me.
Oh, you don't remember? Okay. Well, you said earlier that there are bad cops out there, and like obviously, and there's bad people in every profession.
Sure.
It's just because of the power that's the thing. I just remember when I was in Louisiana, I went to Louisiana right after the hurricane. I was painting, and
you were volunteering your time, man.
Fuck no, I was getting paid $45 an hour.
Oh wow.
Yeah, no, I went down there for the money. It was all like it was weird though, because there wasn't anybody there. I mean, there was like 30,000 Midwest construction workers, and then the quarter was good, and that was about it. I mean, it was so crazy. It was the craziest thing. But we worked mostly for the cops, because they were the ones that got, what are they, like, they're essential personnel or whatever. So they're the ones who like were getting the money from the insurance companies to get in first because they needed police to come in.
Sure.
Whatever.
Gotcha.
So,
Yep.
But Louisiana's kind of like famous for its corruption or whatever. And when I was down there, there was an undercover cop in the quarter that was a bum. He was on a stakeout as a bum.
Oh, interesting.
And he got rolled by 2 uniformed police officers.
No way.
Oh, it made national news.
Oh, wow. You know, I think I remember that. Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Got rolled by.
They rolled him.
That is crazy. You know, they made bad names for everybody.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah. But, you know, in any profession, there are bad apples. You know. But we still live in one of the greatest countries in the world where for the most part, our police officers are like, you know, I don't have to carry, you know, money in my sock to pay off the cop if I get pulled over.
Right.
You know.
Right. Okay, I just remembered. May I?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is yours.
What I also like to contribute to that a little bit is that, you know, that is such a fair question that you ask, because you're asking somebody who's been in those situations before. And even in small town Brainerd, stuff happens.
For sure.
Around here. And even through all your life, you know, there's a lot of things that happen there. So you get the experience, but you really stay focused. And I read a lot of blogs on the use of force community and whatnot there. And when people have questions, you know, in the most unbiased way, only because of experience, I try to explain the best. Okay, here's probably 4 reasons why, but I don't know for sure. Right. But you know, some close friends might ask, hey, what about this and all that stuff. But what I really wish we'd do more of, and bring back a couple more programs, you know, like the community, the police programs, the Citizens on Patrol, the COP, and all that stuff. And what they've done in other parts of the country, especially in California, with certain parts, you know, where there was issues raised by some of the community members about police brutality and all that stuff, then no, this is what happened. No, you did this. Is they take some of these community leaders that are the most vocal, and they take them in and they put them on some of the use of force simulators. And they put them in situations very similar and say, okay, you have a split second. What are you going to do? Ah! And they come out and are advocates for the police.
Interesting. I would love to do that.
You know, and that's what we used to do with some of the Citizens on Patrol and stuff like the Sheriff's Department had one, the Brainerd Police Department had one, where, you know, we could put some of the citizens through some of the training that we do, just so they have a general idea of what goes on. Because sometimes when you explain the laws or what, and each state is a teeny bit different than others, but there's federal standards, but there's state standards too, of course. But
right.
So make a long story short is that sometimes here's what we're allowed to do and all this stuff. People go, oh, so you are allowed to do that. Interesting. That I did not know. So a lot of times just educating people, but most importantly, you know, cops aren't superheroes when we make mistakes.
Right. Right.
We're human beings that have a job to do, and I explain it all the time going, I am no different. I'm just Troy Schreifels, and Monday through Friday I get in a uniform and I do the best job that I can, personally and professionally.
Right. Yeah. 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 Okay, tell a story about when you tased yourself.
Oh, geez, you know, and that one is true humility there, because this was right before I went in. You know, I got the position on the school resource officer position. So I used to be a field training officer working at night, and I was training in a new officer. And I remember it was like 3 o'clock in the morning. I mean, I've told the story so many times now too, you know, and it's very popular among the kids. Anyway, make it long story short, so we get this call of a male who was brought in on evaluation, and he was on some other drugs and was out of control in one of the rooms. So I was first arrived there with the trainee and with the several other officers, and we just we got these new tasers, you know, And there's several different ways at the time that you could deliver a tase or deploy the taser. You know, they have the but usually I have a visual aid. I don't have that right now. So anyway, here's the taser.
You don't have your taser? The hell?
Yeah.
Let's take it.
You first.
Yeah. Okay. So you have the taser, right? Then you have the cartridge that comes off, right? Okay. Well, and then you have these little prongs that are on the taser, and if you hit it, there's that bolt of electricity between the two tasers. You've seen that, right?
Actually, I don't really know anything about them. Yeah. You
don't carry them absorbent?
No, and I've always had my ass kicked the old-fashioned way when I was dealing with the cops.
And there's something still good about the old-fashioned way.
You know.
There is.
Just kidding. So what happened is that there's what they call a drive stunt. So you can take the cartridge off, and you find a piece of the muscle, because what happens when you get tased, it delivers 50,000 volts of electricity. And it incapacitates you. You know, it affects the involuntary muscles throughout your body. But you find a muscle mass, and you put that taser itself, and then deliver it. It only delivers about half, but it's kind of like what we call an intention getter.
Okay.
Okay. And or, you know, you can put the cartridge back on and deploy it that way, and two prongs come out and they're about an inch long. And at the end of the prong is like a fish hook. Those are what kind of sticks into you, and then it can go up to about 20, 25 feet. So, make a long story short, I decided I'm just going to give him a drive stunt in the shoulder, just kind of get his attention, you know, instead of just picking him up and like we usually would and bring him up to upstairs. So I gave him a little, he kind of dropped down on his stomach, and what happened was I had the cartridge in my hand like this, and I was wearing small black leather gloves, and I had the taser in the other hand. And I'm down on one side and a couple officers on the other side, you know, and it's mass hysteria. That's why it usually is, you know, cops are yelling, you know, this and that, and, you know, verbal commands and stuff like that. And I'm like, geez, I can't get the other hand. And I go, well, because I have a taser cartridge in my left hand, and I have the taser in the other hand. Not knowing I still have this circulation of electricity is still pulsating through the taser itself. I wasn't aware of that, but I'm thinking, well, I'll just put the taser cartridge back on, throw it in my back pocket, right? So I did that, and I heard a pop. Okay, what happens when a taser goes off? It pops, and a bunch of this little paper confetti comes out. And I felt something really sharp in my left hand. And I'm probably in shock at that time, right? And I'm like, did the thing just go off? Yes, it did. Okay. But now what I found out later, everybody knew I deployed the taser, but that I deployed it on him. Because there's just so much going on. There's so many moving
Right, so
parts
they didn't
in
think that you tased yourself.
Right. And so
or they would have immediately stopped and started making fun of you.
Yes, they would have.
Right, that's what.
Yes, they would have.
Stop, hold it.
Click, 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 you know. So I took the taser off thinking, okay, nobody saw that, right? I just have the whole thing in my hand, right? Because there's a bunch of wire and stuff like that. I put the taser in my back pocket, and I finished handcuffing this guy. Well, so we're bringing this guy up, and there's several of us. This guy's still kicking and yelling and this and that. But what I noticed is that, I mean, I've been injured. I've been hurt before in certain parts of my body, but this is the most excruciating pain I've ever experienced in my whole entire life, even to this day. And my hand is just pulsating, and I'm thinking, why is my hand hurting so much? And then I notice that when I'm holding this, but there's blood pooling out of my left glove. I'm thinking, wow. So I told everybody there, I says, hey, you guys, yeah, I'll just be waiting downstairs for you, you know. So I walked downstairs, and I went to the doctor, Dr. Nienaber at the time, great guy. He was actually one of my neighbors down the road. And I said, you know, I deployed the taser, man. I just remember looking at me, he goes, why'd you do that? Anyway, make a long story short, so they took the glove off, and there was blood in my glove. You know, it was horrific looking, really. I mean, just at a first glance. So I had it in my hand cuffed like this, you know, like I was holding a baseball. And it was a good thing because one of the taser cartridges, about an inch long, came in here and just kind of poked me in the palm of my hand. And we took that out. However, the other prong actually entered in the webbing of my middle finger and towards my ring finger, and entered the webbing of my hand and traveled all the way down the middle of my hand.
What the hell?
Yeah, that's what I said, Kyle. That's what I said.
So was it shocking you as well?
No.
So it
No.
was. So all you were getting was it was just the
barbed,
prongs.
Yeah.
But you shot it at essentially point blank range. Dude.
You can't get any more point blank than that, MT. Wow.
That's
And I just and so they had to surgically actually. I'm actually 20% disabled in my left hand. You can't tell.
well.
Okay, up here maybe. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But it was very therapeutic for me because it took me. I've only been telling the story about 7 years now, and this happened 12 years ago.
So you kept it quiet.
Yeah. Then one day I had this overwhelming feeling. I said, I need to tell the story. So I remember talking to this class, right? Because I go in and speak about in government classes about police, whatever you had. And I said, we have 5 minutes left. You guys want to hear a story? Somebody's trying to get in here.
Yeah, it's all right. That happens all the time. They know where it goes.
Want to hear a story? And I told that, and I felt so good. But at the time, I'm looking, and the kids are on the floor just dying.
Yeah, well, it's hilarious. And my kids always. I mean, I probably heard that story 5 times because the kids. But I just love it. Yeah, it's one of the funnier things ever. Yeah, you also push some weights around, don't you?
I do, yeah, a little bit. At the high school.
Doesn't show.
Gotta love our brothers here.
Man.
Toxic masculinity.
Right?
But
Actually,
he and I are both scared of you, though, MT. You know that.
Right? It's one of the guys at the walk yesterday. He's like, man. He's like, you guys should be brothers. I'm like, yeah, except he's the taller, leaner, fitter, better-looking brother. Like, thanks for bringing that up. Shut your mouth.
But you both lift heavy things.
True.
Yeah, I just saw a sign on your Facebook. You're squatting, doing some squats. Yeah. I don't pick up anything that I don't have to, ever.
Well, one thing, I don't know if this has been your experience too, but being in my 40s, especially on the wrong side of 45.
Roger that.
I've had to learn to lift all over again. Basically, just a lot of things now. I do not go heavy like I used to, and I've tried to avoid injury. And try to not show off, because that has been the bane of my lifting existence
Bingo.
for so long.
Yeah, agreed, brother. Agreed. I'm right with you.
I tore my pec showing off a couple of years ago, and just all kinds of. And I'm just like, oh yeah, and it was ugly. I mean, not bad enough where I needed surgery to reattach it, but bad enough where I had a big ugly bruise that settled down to my waist, and and it was horrible. But but lifting weights is pretty necessary now at this point. It's one of those things. I've got all these things that I do throughout the course of my week. The show being one of them now. That I just need to do to manage. Because I don't know. I found that. I have a whole new set of anxiety and stuff as I get older, and I worry about different things, and different things weigh on me. So a person needs stuff.
Well, and if you stop lifting weights, you're just going to get fat.
Oh my! Well,
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
And I know you're going to get when I tell you the story, you're going to be like, oh, dude, that happens all the time. So I just started noticing several years ago. I'd take some trips, and I'm in the airports or maybe other places or or Mall of America and stuff. When you walk by people that it's pretty obvious they lift weights.
Yeah.
Did you ever catch yourself going? Mm-hmm. And they're looking back at you at the same time. You're like, "Oh, we're so busted."
And even the way that weightlifters talk to each other and stuff is not the way people normally talk to each other in the real world. Dude, just the appreciation and stuff. You can come up to a guy in the weight room and be like, "Man, you put on some size, awesome. You must have been hitting the legs hard. Your butt looks great." I mean, maybe not quite that far, but I mean, if you know the guy, then probably yeah. But it's it's a different world. Once you when you're a weightlifter, you just talk to each other differently and stuff.
Agreed. And you look at each other
for sure. It's just a lot of times when I catch myself doing it, I feel how I imagine women feel when they're
exactly. That's exactly.
I can't believe that girl is wearing the same fucking outfit I'm wearing, and or is that guy bigger than me?
Yeah, exactly. I'm going,
And I'm like,
he's bigger than
yeah, he is. And then your buddy's like, no, he isn't. And I'm like, yes, he is. Like, did I say, is she prettier than me? Oh, I'm sorry. Like, it's
But it is a weightlifter's world. That is.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. I wanted to bring that up with Kyle.
for sure.
It's the first time I saw Kyle, I was like, Kyle, you lift weights.
Man,
I've known Kyle so long; it's just part of him.
Well,
But,
it's so therapeutic and stuff, and then
Oh, it is,
You know,
yeah.
and there's like and of course there's vanity issues and stuff like that. Like I don't, even that picture from this weekend and stuff, where one of my friends who also works out used to fight. He used to fight MMA as well. He's looking at that picture of you and I and Christine. And he's like, the only thing I understand about this picture is her hand on your ass. And what did I have to say to that? I'm like, it's because she appreciates my fanatical basically like how I will not skip leg day.
Oh.
Because at this point, at our age now, it's a must.
Mhm.
Or
well, you got to do something.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
And for me, it's like if I don't train jits, I get super depressed. Like I have to have
it's true.
that.
It is. It's a part of the routine that you miss. And
It sucks though. Like, as I'm getting to the age now where it's starting to actually get hard to continue to do it because jiu-jitsu is just it's an injury. Like it's a fucking walking injury. I'm going into a fight. I mean, that's what it is every time.
Right.
And so I'm like, I mean, I right now I have like this shit on my face where Joe DeSecchi was fucking laying on my head, and anyway,
Wow.
like, yeah,
No, that was from Meta.
I'm always it could have been. I'm always beat up, and it gets to the point where I'm like, man, do I need to move into a different sport? And then I'm like, but no, this is it. I mean,
Well, for weightlifting, it's you might not wear them all the time, but I feel like my gym bag is full of braces and straps, and
We are brothers.
Dude, it's so ridiculous. And the ones there's some that I wear often, like elbow braces and stuff. Because your elbows get so shot, from doing heavy, like French press or skull crushers, stuff like that. Some of these lifts are hard on your body.
Yeah, the joints.
Yeah,
Your joints
man.
is huge. Yeah.
I had to change my workout up for a while because I'm like my knees, my knees have always been healthy. But man, I'm 46. I can't go ass to grass all heavy all the time like I
that.
used to. Because I'm like, oof.
Roger that.
I get a kick out of you guys talking weight room shit.
This is a brother, man.
I know,
sure.
but it's interesting. Like you guys are. It's just. I mean, it's just like when I sit down with somebody who does jits, and you just you start yeah.
Yeah, our little world.
Yep. Everybody has their own little world.
I've got a question. This is not related to anything at all, except last show. So, have you seen The Notebook?
The Notebook.
Nicholas
you would
Sparks.
sure.
It was Nicholas Sparks' book. Yeah, you'd probably remember because
Dude, you would remember. It's the saddest fucking movie ever made.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Ryan Gosling and I forget what her name is. Anyway, but yeah, I was we had last week we realized that all three of us had Notebook stories. So if you consult with your wife because she'll probably remind you yes, of course we saw that because I made you see it because that's how one guy winds up seeing The Notebook. If you think of it, let us know because I'm trying to collect people's stories about how they wound up
we
watching
want
The Notebook.
notebooks.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
That's how sad it is. Yeah, in fact, if you're
Now you're treating my curiosity now,
yeah,
guys. Wow.
Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it. 'Cause
Yeah.
I don't.
Don't do it?
Yeah,
I would.
If you,
I would do anything to take it back.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, then don't watch it because you'll cry and
Unless you want.
unless you need that cry.
Unless you want your wife to think you're amazing, then you can be like, "Hey, baby, I heard about this
Right.
movie. I want to watch this movie with you." And then she can be like, "Oh, he is a ball baby."
No.
Are you a crier?
Well, only when I walk away from you guys because I don't see you for a while. But
No, like in movies.
That's a
and
good
stuff?
answer.
I do. Yeah. No, I'm a crier. I'm a crier.
horrible.
You know,
I was
Old
actually,
Yeller was a bad one.
I was watching a
We have not given
fucking
that one any
comedy
credit.
show that you recommended last night.
I have a confession to make.
What?
I knew you were going to cry during that part.
You bitch.
You
I was
cried
like,
during a comedy show?
Fuck yes. And I was like,
I know exactly what part you're talking
and
about.
halfway through, Amanda and I were watching last night. And I can't remember the guy's name. Sloss.
It's Daniel Sloss.
Daniel Sloss, and it's on Netflix. And
the,
I was
the
like,
name of the
Kyle,
special is called Dark.
Kyle was like,
Oh, I've seen it. I saw that.
you need to watch this. And I don't want to wreck it.
Roger.
Because like yeah. So I halfway through, I'm like, I like him. He's good. I don't get it. I don't get why Kyle was like insistent. And I found out.
Oh, interesting. Now you've intrigued my curiosity on that one.
It's
too.
not just that, because there's also the part where he delves into, like people getting offended on behalf of other people.
Yeah.
Which I think happens a lot. Because I mean, I think everyone can agree, no matter what, like political stripe or everything. Like I feel like everyone is just too damn thin-skinned nowadays.
Right.
Agreed.
About the wrong things. Like if you want to be sensitive about something, then be sensitive in the most like real and human and like personal way, not just because you're supposed to get pissed off about this. And the way he tackles that was the thing that really impressed me. But I also knew that you cried during that part, so that was a booby trap. But
You're a dickhole.
Wow, I gotta watch it now.
Yeah. Afterward, like I'm sitting there, and I mean I am a baby though. Like I say it all the time, but like Saving Private Ryan almost killed me. I mean, like
that was
so bad. I got done. I was laying in bed just sobbing. My wife at the time got up, took a shower, because we were gonna go out to dinner with some friends. I'm still laying there sobbing. She's like, "How long is this gonna go on? How much more time do you need?" I'm like, 5 more minutes. Fucking horrible. And I mean, I can go right back, but yeah, it was the saddest fucking comedy show I've ever seen. All right,
interesting.
So check it out,
and not like throughout, but just like one part, like one little thing that he covered.
People should just give it a
Daniel
shot.
Sloss,
It was good. It was good.
Netflix.
I'm interested
Really
in seeing some of the rest of this stuff. I like I wasn't sure I was going to. Whenever I watch a comedy show, I always think about like some of the old bits that I have written.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I've done stand-up comedy, about a dozen.
I did not
times.
know that about you.
It's one of those things. Yeah,
Interesting.
I've done about a dozen shows or so. But I'm constantly writing jokes that I never do because I don't do stand-up often enough, and a lot of them are topical, and then they go away. Like jokes have to be told, or else they're.
True. Yeah.
So this
use
was,
it or lose it.
So we were watching it, and he had mentioned, made some little joke about how the only 9-year-olds that were that had a job were making the shoes he wanted, and I just thought it was funny, and he that's going to don't. And I had to stop it because I was like, oh my god, that reminds me of a bit that I used to do, and this was back when Walmart had the Kathy Lee Gifford brand of clothing. Remember that?
I remember that.
And then it came out that it was all in sweatshops, made in sweatshops, and it was like there was big protests and everything like that. So I had made a bit about it, and then I was like, yeah, Kathy Lee Gifford, right? If they could see me now on my sunship cruise, I got a bunch of children down making my shoes. Oh, they make about a penny a day. Yeah. If those kids could see me now. And never got to fucking do that on stage. So I did it for you guys.
Well,
it's a 20-year-old joke.
I appreciate that.
I've never done stand-up, but I still write jokes and stuff, and a lot of times, I'll pass on them and they'll wither on the vine. I wrote one, like just like today. Yeah, because I was thinking, it was when we were talking about I have a new grandson.
Oh, congratulations!
Thank you. And I was when we were talking about that, and I was going to say, I was going to mention, but there's a because I come from a really small kind of real small, real rural town, and I was going to say, in my hometown, grandfathers have a saying, "Settle down." I'm not even sure it's mine. But I was like, man, can I actually say that? And I'm like, yeah, I can say it, but I was like, nah, I'll just pass on that one. But then I didn't. You're welcome. That horrifying gem for you. But yeah.
Well, one of my favorite bits that I wrote that I never did, because again, it was topical, but it was when Obama had just won. just became president, and I truthfully was like obsessed with him. I wasn't even I'm really not all that political, but I just really I kind of had a crush on him, a little man crush on him, you know.
Wow.
And I would.
Well, he was
yeah.
impressive.
There's a
Yeah, it was just. I just was like. I mean, I never had watched a speech before, but I was like, I'm like, just loved the way he talked, and he was so articulate and all that stuff. So I was. So the thing was, I was saying, you know, like, I was talking about how I have this man crush on Obama, and I just go home and like watch these YouTube videos about him and everything, and I just think he's great, except for the smoking, you know, because at the time he was smoking.
Oh, smoking, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm like, this is. I said, I have a 14-year-old kid that I'm trying to, like, you know, teach the you know, evils of tobacco. And how am I supposed to do that when you can clearly see that the angels sing every time Obama comes out? It's like you know, the you know, Camel got a fucking product placement in the crucifixion. You know? That was it.
that was actually pretty good.
Thank you.
MT, that was pretty good,
Thank you.
actually.
No, that was a fun one. I never got to do it, but yeah.
Well, you did for us.
I did it
Yes.
for you.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Yeah, it's all for you.
And with me on your show.
Right.
Yeah, you didn't do that with anybody else. You know how special I feel right
Oh,
now?
you are special.
Jeez.
I.
I don't know if I can leave, guys. Sorry. I don't know.
Well, it's okay. We'll just keep going. This is all we'll
Just
do.
keep going. I do have to use the bathroom, though. We're going to keep going.
Well, we should probably wrap it up. Is there anything else on your list that you wanted to cover?
Man, I don't know. I think I've got everything, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this has been a incredible pleasure. We'd love to have
Okay.
you back.
Fantastic.
Are you
sometime.
serious? I can come back?
Oh,
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Right. We're gonna be.
You got to bring your.
calling. He's gonna be
you
like.
got to bring your daughter, but I'm not. Just kidding.
You know, maybe she could do a show with
She
you
would.
guys,
I would.
huh?
We would love to have her on, or your son, any of them.
Right. He brings his daughter. He'll probably bring his son, and he'll kick our asses.
Yeah. One or the other.
See, he's one who's been doing some jiu-jitsu, too. He's a big...
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, just some... I forget the kid's name. But, well, this is before he enlisted. He was doing some stuff there, but he's really into it. He
Where
likes
at?
it.
Like what?
Kid, by the last name Anderson. He was living in Pillager. He was
Okay.
doing a lot of stuff with him. There was about 4 or
awesome.
5 different guys that were
Oh,
doing it.
sure.
So,
Yeah. Cool. Very
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, well, when we have the tradition of playing a song on our way out.
Oh, really?
Well, I don't have it, but
Oh.
so every week I try to come up with a new.
This week I'm singing a song.
I already
No, I'm
sang
not.
I already sang on the podcast, and that's a hard rule. There'll be no singing. But we got the pleasure of going and seeing Angie Stevens, little Angie, from Rapid City, South Dakota. We got the opportunity to go see her this weekend, and I just love the girl, and I miss her just so much. It was so much fun to have her there, and you know, get to see her, you know, and she's invited. Meta and I to go out to Colorado. And I was like, yeah, Kyle and I would love to go. I was being an asshole. Sorry, Meta. But anyway, so I thought we'd take you out with an Angie Stevens song. I haven't decided which one yet, so we'll find out. You guys will find out in a second.
Right on.
All right. Well,
Word up.
we will see you guys next week. Next week we have. Oh no, actually, next week is Memorial Day.
Yes.
So we're off, right?
Probably.
And okay, unless something comes up.
Unless we figure something out. I hate to miss it 2 weeks.
But the week after that, on the 8th, I believe it is, we have Drew Peterson coming
Drew.
with us. You know Drew?
Drew. Nice. Love him. Love him.
Really?
Yep,
Yeah,
good guy,
awesome.
good guy.
So he's coming and going to play some music for us. And geez, I'm really looking forward to it. He's one of my favorite humans. So, you know, that's always great. All right. We will see you guys next time on Spitballing.
Thank you.
light hit my eyes. I was so scared. I wasn't surprised. You'll never know yourself. Really though, do we even want to know? Tables are set, bets have been made. Make your next move. Your life is at stake. It's as simple as this: a hug or a kiss. When did we decide we needed this? Just when I turned around, the light hit my eyes. I was so scared. I wasn't surprised. You'll never know yourself. Really though, do we even want to know? Do we even want to know? Do we even want to know? Just when I turned around, the light hit my eyes. I was so scared. I wasn't surprised. You'll never know yourself. Really though, do we even want to know? Do we even want to know? La da da da, la da da da, la da da.
And I fucked it up anyway.
That was Java.
Come
That was
with us.
Java speak.
Yeah, it sounded really dumb.
It was totally Java speak.
And I meant to say fucking Klingon anyway,
Seriously?
so that made it
That was
fucked up.
definitely Java speak, right?
He always speaks in
Come
Java.
with us to the cabin.
He always
Java or
speaks in Java.
Kyle, you
Right.
knows why you